The rain that night was merciless. It crashed against the broken windows of the small house, like a warning from the world outside. Inside, the lights flickered weakly, and a tired man stood by the door, holding it halfway open. On the other side of that door stood a girl, soaked, shivering, and silent, her eyes carrying a kind of sadness that didn't belong to someone her age. The man had no idea that this quiet college girl standing on his porch, clutching a worn backpack, was actually the daughter of one of the richest billionaires in the country. And the girl had no idea that the small act of kindness she was about to receive from a struggling single father would change both their lives forever. If you believe that kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in goodness, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to know how far this story travels across the world. Ethan Carter had never imagined his life would turn out like this. 5 years earlier, he had been a cheerful man with a loving wife, a steady job, and dreams that stretched far into the future. But tragedy has a way of rewriting plans. After a sudden illness took his wife away, Ethan was left alone to raise their little daughter, Lily Carter, who was only 3 years old at the time. The world that once felt warm and hopeful suddenly became heavy and uncertain. Bills piled up. His job at a local auto repair shop barely paid enough to keep the lights on. Every day felt like a battle against exhaustion, worry, and loneliness. Yet despite everything, Ethan never stopped trying. Every morning he woke before sunrise, prepared Lily's breakfast, walked her to kindergarten, and then worked long hours fixing engines and replacing worn-out tires. At night he returned home tired, but determined to give his daughter the love she deserved. Their house was small and old, but it was filled with small moments of warmth. Lily's laughter, bedtime stories, and quiet dinners where Ethan pretended not to worry about the future. On that stormy evening, Ethan had just finished putting Lily to bed when he heard a faint knock on the door. It was hesitant, almost afraid. When he opened it, he saw the girl standing there, drenched in rain. Her long dark hair clung to her face, and her clothes were simple but neat. She looked like any other college student struggling to survive in a big city. Her name was Olivia Bennett. She explained softly that she had nowhere to stay for the night. The dormitory she had been living in had suddenly closed for repairs, and the last bus had already left. Hotels were far too expensive for a student like her. She had been walking through the neighborhood for hours, hoping to find someone kind enough to help. Ethan hesitated for only a moment. He didn't have much, but he understood what it meant to feel lost and alone. Without asking too many questions, he offered her the small spare room in his house. It wasn't fancy, just an old bed, a wooden desk, and a cracked window, but it was dry and safe. That night, Olivia lay awake staring at the ceiling. She wasn't just any college student. She was the only daughter of Alexander Bennett, the billionaire founder of one of the largest technology companies in the world. Her life had always been surrounded by luxury, private schools, expensive vacations, and a mansion that seemed to stretch endlessly. But wealth doesn't always bring happiness. Olivia had grown up feeling invisible in her father's empire. After her mother passed away years earlier, Alexander Bennett buried himself in work, rarely noticing the loneliness in his daughter's eyes. Olivia had spent years living in a golden cage, watched by security guards and surrounded by people who treated her like a business asset rather than a person. So when she turned 19 and entered college, she made a bold decision. She left the mansion quietly and moved into a simple dormitory, using a different last name. She wanted to experience life like an ordinary person. She wanted to know what real friendship felt like. And most of all, she wanted to understand the world outside her father's billion-dollar shadow. But living independently wasn't easy. Her small savings were running low, and pride kept her from asking her father for help. That's how she ended up standing in the rain outside Ethan Carter's house. Over the following days, Olivia stayed longer than expected. Ethan never pried into her past. He simply treated her with quiet respect, like a daughter who needed a place to breathe. Lily quickly grew fond of her. The little girl would sit beside Olivia while she studied, asking innocent questions and giggling at the smallest things. For Olivia, those moments felt magical. She had never experienced something so simple, yet so meaningful. Ethan's home was poor compared to the mansion she had grown up in, but it felt warmer than any place she had ever lived. She noticed how Ethan sacrificed small comforts for Lily, how he skipped meals sometimes to make sure his daughter had enough, how he stayed up late repairing neighbors' cars just to earn a few extra dollars. And slowly something inside Olivia began to change. Weeks turned into months. Olivia started helping around the house, cooking dinner, tutoring Lily, and even finding a part-time job at a nearby bookstore. Ethan saw her as a hardworking student trying to survive in a tough world. He never suspected the truth about who she really was. But secrets rarely stay hidden forever. One afternoon, while Olivia was walking home from college, a black luxury car pulled up beside her. A tall man stepped out, the kind of man who looked powerful even in silence. It was her father's chief security officer. Her father had finally found her. Alexander Bennett had spent months searching for his missing daughter. When he discovered where she had been living, he was shocked. His daughter, the heir to a billion-dollar empire, was living in a tiny house in a struggling neighborhood with a mechanic and his child. At first, he was furious. But when he arrived at Ethan Carter's home and quietly observed the life inside that small house, something unexpected happened. He saw Ethan helping Lily with homework, while Olivia prepared dinner in the kitchen. He saw laughter, warmth, and a kind of love that couldn't be bought with money. For the first time in years, Alexander Bennett realized what had been missing from his own life. When Olivia finally told Ethan the truth, he was stunned. The quiet girl who had been living in his spare room was the daughter of one of the richest men in the country. But what surprised Olivia even more was Ethan's reaction. He didn't treat her any differently. To him, she was still the same kind-hearted girl who read bedtime stories to Lily and helped fix broken things around the house. That realization broke something open in Olivia's heart. She had spent her entire life surrounded by people who respected her wealth, but Ethan respected her humanity. And that made all the difference. Months later, something remarkable happened. Alexander Bennett reached out to Ethan with an unexpected offer. Not charity, but opportunity. He funded the expansion of Ethan's small repair shop into a modern automotive center. Ethan accepted only after making sure it would be earned through honest work. The shop grew quickly, providing jobs for dozens of people in the community. And Olivia continued visiting the small house that had once saved her during the rain. Because some places are more than buildings. They become the places where hearts change. Before we reach the ending of this story, we have a small request for you. If you're still watching, comment the word kindness below. It helps this story reach more people who need a reminder that even the smallest act of compassion can change a life. Years later, when Lily Carter graduated from high school, the crowd in the auditorium included a proud father, a successful young woman named Olivia Bennett, and a quiet billionaire who had finally learned the true value of family. And it all started with a knock on a door during a storm. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists in the world, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this. Your support helps keep these stories alive and spreading hope.